Hi everyone, my name is Jarissa. I'm a hypnotist, and this video is going to be my free course on how to develop your emotional capacity when you are just stuck in stagnation and numbness, and just accessing your emotions and your feelings feels virtually impossible. Now, I used to be in this space, and when I was in this space, I didn't realize that I was in this space. I found out that I was in this space because I had my own hypnosis session. And so in the very beginning, I was getting hypnosis training, and one of the trainers that I had said, "You have to work with me as a client if you are going to train with me, because you need to understand what it's like as a client through the process that I do." And at the time, I didn't really believe that I really had much to work on. I was like, I feel pretty good about myself, about my life, or so I thought. Well, I get down and I start having some emotions coming up, some anger, some feelings in which I wasn't really able to see myself. I could feel myself deflecting on the outside. Everything else was kind of blaming others, looking at others' lives, like noticing how others were affecting me, but I would never really go within. And then when I started to go within, I started to notice this feeling of anger. And as I was accessing this anger, I could just feel just this ickiness of just like, like, why do I want to feel this? What is the point of all of this? And after my hypnosis session, I remember being angry for like 3 days, okay? I was fucking just pissed. And I was like, I just don't understand why I'm in this space, and I didn't understand why I was feeling angry. And when that anger passed, I felt so amazing. I felt light. And that was the very beginning of like, oh my gosh, there must be something here. How do I go deeper within myself? And this kind of opened the door to me doing some self-exploration. Now, at the same time, I also had a friend of mine who was doing body movement. And she was like, yeah, you can absolutely go into your body and do deeper subconscious work that way. And I'm like, well, I don't know what the body has anything to do with subconscious work. So, whatever, but you're my friend. I'm here to support you. I will totally lean in. And we had like full moon circles and stuff, basically where we were moving our body around. And after a couple of those sessions, I realized, oh, there is absolutely something here. So I want to walk you through the process that I did to develop my emotional capacity, in which it's not about feeling the feelings, okay? Developing your emotional capacity is more about developing your capacity to experience. And there are experiences that you have had that you haven't really allowed yourself to have. Now, and I'm not talking about the experience where bad things happen to you. I'm talking about the feelings in which the experience that you had within yourself. So there are experiences that you have had within yourself that perhaps you have suppressed. And the way that I came out of this was through movement and through music. Now, one of the recommendations that I make for my clients who are not quite ready for the full hypnosis process because, well, I need to access feelings and emotions to walk you through doorways and to change your belief systems and the stories, I will recommend that you lean into movement and to music. Now, when I am talking about music, in the very beginning, I am not talking about like listening to your favorite rapper or listening to your favorite rock song. Like, I am not talking about music with words in it. I am specifically talking about instrumental music. When I first started, I listened to piano music, I listened to a lot of drums, but to really start accessing my emotions, my feelings, looking back, I realized that I needed to really access my imagination. In order to come out of some of these emotional spaces that you were in, even if it feels like numbness or stagnation, sometimes we have to activate our imagination, but sitting still is not going to do that for you, okay? If it did, well, you probably would be out of that space by now, especially if you were someone who intellectualizes, okay? So we have to go through a process in which we are not intellectualizing anything. We are purely just in the experience experimenting. So this recommendation that I'm about to make for you is not so much about feeling your feelings and developing your capacity for all these different emotions. It's developing your capacity to experience and to use your imagination in these experiences, okay? So the playlist that I specifically used was literally Viking war drums, okay? So we have Viking playlist. I can put a couple of playlists down in the description below. So I would literally be listening to these playlists and I would literally be moving my body around. And how I did this is that I literally followed the body movement that I was doing with the friend that I had, except I was doing it in a way of like, oh, I realized that maybe I have some anger, some frustration. And looking back, I realized accessing that anger and that frustration, getting my heart rate up was literally like the doorway down deeper into my subconscious. And this is why I'm recommending it to you. Because if you're feeling numb and stagnant, perhaps you came from a background where maybe you didn't have space to have personal power, to have a voice. So maybe you're really just stuck in the energy of learned helplessness, which causes you to be passive. And when you are stuck in spaces of passiveness, well, you don't really want to do work. You don't really want to move. You just don't really see the point in why. You're like, why should I do this? What is the point in any of this? All right, so we need to get out of this attitude by allowing ourselves to experience movement. And so this is what this movement is going to look like, okay? So you're going to put on whatever war music, whatever hype music you got going on, and you're going to be bouncing around. You're going gonna be just moving around, and perhaps you're gonna be stomping your feet around like this, and you're gonna be doing this, and you're gonna be moving around. You really want to just get that heart rate up, okay? You're gonna be going up and going down, allowing yourself to just really, really get that heart rate up as best as you can, and you're gonna be leaning into the experience of whatever that music is. And so when you're in war music, you're just gonna be allowing that heart rate to get up and just moving through the energy that is moving through you, playing into it. And you can also do it in a way of like you're using your voice. So maybe you're like, ah, ah, but really, this is just about getting up and getting down, moving. Now, when you explore emotions, it's not typically just one emotion that you're experiencing. You're going to notice some layers. And so we start off really fast to get the heart rate going. And then at some point, we get into a space where we start to slow down, okay? So there's going to be a point where you notice where maybe you want to start slowing down. And so this is where we maybe go into maybe just doing like some body movements like this. We're going into some movements, and then maybe we end up going down to the floor. So maybe we're like kind of just going around to the floor, and then maybe we're going down and we're, moving our hips around. Maybe we're just kind of, I don't know, we're just going a little bit slower. There's no right way to do this. And then we slow down even more, and maybe we're just like noticing very soft movements. And then maybe we'll just kind of notice the minor movements of our muscles and our breath. And even though you might still notice your heart rate going, especially if you were jumping around, bouncing around for a while, when you start to slow down, maybe you'll start to notice your heart rate going, but maybe you'll notice just some feelings that you're having. And so maybe you'll notice some feelings in your chest, and you just kind of notice the space, you're breathing into it. But you may also notice that maybe your music choice also changes. And so as you're in this space and you've slowed down, you may notice that, okay, now that my body is slowed down, maybe I want to find music that matches this. And so this is why I don't believe this is going to just take one session, because you're going to find that you got to really cultivate your own playlist. I don't know what kind of music you're into, but I can kind of give you some ideas of what I listen to in order to get myself down into some of these emotional spaces. But really, accessing the emotional spaces of just like fire. And so fire is the best way that I know how to put it, in which you are accessing just ideas of like frustration and anger, and just really getting up and going and developing your capacity to feel intensity. That's what I mean when I say fire, is that you're developing your capacity to feel intensity. And so then as you start moving and you start slowing down, this is where we start getting into some of those deeper emotions. You might even just have images and ideas come to your mind. There may be some past things that come up for you, but this is about allowing yourself to lean into those feelings that come up for you. And there may be a lot of tears. There was a lot of tears for me. But what I just showed you, all of that movement, I literally did this 3 or 4 times a week for like at least 30 minutes at a time for a few months. And just that period alone opened up so many doorways into my subconscious, in a way of, I started noticing that I was able to lean even deeper into some of the deeper belief systems. And one day, in regards to my limerence, everything just kind of clicked for me, and it was like literally instantaneously that I came out of that. But I had to develop my capacity to even experience intensity, because what actually brought me out of limerence was this feeling of frustration and anger at the entire experience, and realizing that my self-worth was worth more than what I was telling myself as I was placing my self-worth in this other person. So with that being said, if you have any questions, comments, concerns, please leave them down in the comments. Email me, book a phone consultation. I'm always here to help you. I would love for you to help you develop your capacity to experience just experiences in general, because that's all working with the subconscious is using your imagination to experience things. And so whenever you have limiting belief systems, you're really only able to imagine one thing, maybe a couple of things, and it's usually worst case scenario. But our life lives on a spectrum, right? And so there's literally infinite possibilities of things that can happen. Sometimes some things are a little bit more statistically likely than other things, but if we don't have an open mind, then we don't allow ourselves to experience good things sometimes, or we go into good things and then all we can focus on is the bad things. So with that being said, if you have any questions, comments, concerns, please leave them below, and I will get back to you as soon as I can.